everybody. Welcome to the Forward Sports Media Podcast. My name is Thomas.
And I'm Trey, and we have a lot of exciting content for you guys today. We're going to talk about all the signings and all the extensions that happened over the past couple weeks that we took off for Christmas.
Definitely. It was a much needed break.
Yeah.
Lots of things going on in the holiday season. I mean, we're off seeing family. Everybody knows how busy that gets. You know, you've got a wife, you've got your own family, a lot going on, but a lot of disc golf action going on.
All kinds of disc golf action going on, and we'll touch on a lot of those. We're going to highlight a few people. We're going to talk about the folks who have not yet signed, our big three that have not signed yet. We'll dig a little bit into that, as well as talk about some new discs that have come out. And I played disc golf with Chris Dickerson.
He did play disc golf with Chris Dickerson. I mean, let's talk about, do you want to talk about that right now or a little bit later?
We'll catch that at the end.
All right, sounds good. So we've got a few, lots of people who have signed. It just is that time of year. Everybody's announcing extensions, but the things we're most interested about are the new signings. Trey, there's one specific person that in this 2-week span we would say is probably the biggest name that, or like the biggest change overall. Who would you say that is?
So we're talking here changes that have already happened.
Yes, changes in the last 2 weeks specifically. Not speculation, not like solidified changes from brands, not just re-signing with the same or extending your current contract.
So for me, I think the biggest signing was Mason Ford to Mint Discs. And they say that simply because Mint Discs didn't have a high-profile name.
Mm-hmm.
Mason Ford is a top 20 disc golfer based on 2022 stats. He did great things at Dynamic. Before that, won the National Tour finale in 21.
Yep.
In Nashville, near our hometown.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's exciting to see that Mason's picking up to the pace, and he's going to be the key guy there for Mint Discs. Mint makes some great discs, some great plastic.
What do you throw currently in the line?
So I love their understable stuff. I'm throwing a jackalope, and I'm throwing a lobster.
Okay.
So I love the lobster for some nice, like, turning shots. And the same thing with jackalope. I really am enjoying that for some hyzer flip backhands. And so their discs are great. Their plastic feels... It is up there with, like, the Castaplasts and the Innova Star.
Definitely.
Like, in feel, it's got a great feel to it. So
it's very grippy. I feel like every time I've held one of yours, it's been very grippy.
Yeah, I really enjoy their discs, and I think Mason Ford's going to kill it. Best thing about that, Ford Mustang. There's got to be one. Mason, make it happen, dude.
Oh, yeah. You got to think so. And the video leading in to the Mason Ford sign that you showed me, it was a super fun.
Oh, yeah, that was sick.
Lead into the reveal, the little tease.
Yeah, the teaser that led into the bigger video. I don't know if you were able to watch
It's been a busy week.
Yeah, totally understand. I watched the signing, or the video, and it was just, they extended and then revealed that it was Mason Ford, which a lot of people have expected that it was going to be him.
Right.
Just with the Texas roots. The intro showed somebody wearing glasses. Mason Ford wears glasses.
Right.
And so it wasn't as much of a surprise as it was, I think, just a big move for Mint Disc and a big move for Mason Ford. Mason Ford gets to be the top guy. Mint Disc gets a top guy. So it's exciting.
Definitely. Now, I think my favorite move in the recent is Babcock to Discmania. One of the big four prodigy guys. When I think of the big four prodigy guys, I think of Isaac Robinson, Gannon Burr, Alden Harris, Babcock.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just like a group that just is super fun to watch. The videos that Alden and Gannon post, just like super iconic.
Yeah,
and then to see him leave and then go off to Discmania, kind of in the mix of, and at the time of recording, Simon has not made any changes, and so to see him fill that spot while there's speculation kind of feels like maybe this was kind of the telltale sign that, Discmania had some expendable money to be able to get a guy that really is on the up and up.
Oh, Gavin's absolutely on the up and up. I mean, he's obviously not Simon Lizotte. Obviously not going to replace a guy like that. You can't replace a guy like that. But Gavin's a great addition. He's an up-and-coming player. Hit that $10,000 ace on GK Pro Skins.
Oh, talk about an amazing ace. I mean, just absolutely smooth.
Yeah.
And then he takes the shirt off, rolls down. That was super fun.
That's a classic disc golf move there. But no, Gavin's seems like it to be seems like a pretty cool guy. Seems like he's gonna represent Discmania well. And so while there is a lot to be sad about for Discmania fans, you are getting a great, great player in him.
Definitely. I think he's got a lot of room to absolutely kill it on the tour this season. So another signing, and you were very excited about this, was the change for James Proctor.
Yeah, so James Proctor, originally with Innova, left this year, and I'm gonna say it like this, has so far signed with ThoughtSpace Athletics as well as Clash Discs.
Right.
You're seeing a little bit of a theme here with the companies with Clash and ThoughtSpace also coordinating with Infinite Discs. So I would not be surprised if we see Proctor join that Infinite Discs group.
Yeah.
They've been talking about having a couple of NPO and FPO signings. They just announced that they signed Maria Oliva.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're waiting for those signings to come in. At this current point, Proctor has only signed with TSA and Clash, but I'm expecting him to be with Infinite and run with a mixed bag and
Definitely.
kind of go in the line a la Eric Oakley.
Yeah.
Which he's doing all kinds of things. And I think that's a really cool opportunity for James to be able to stand out. He's a fantastic golfer. I got to see him play at USDGC. And he is consistent. He doesn't let things get to him. He's cool under pressure. When he's not playing well, he's not getting mad at himself.
Definitely.
He is very cool. And so I think that for him to be able to open up his bag and throw, yes, he'll be throwing some thought space. Yes, he'll be throwing some clash, but he'll be able to throw some of the Innova that he still had potentially.
Definitely.
And he'll be throwing in some new things there. So it's exciting to see him get an opportunity to branch out from that Innova pack and
Yeah.
really make an impact with thought space and clash.
Definitely. And so outside of people that have signed with new companies, we've got a few people, and honestly, there have been a lot. This is the classic season for people extending their contracts. Yeah. Thanks, XYZ Company, for always supporting me. And we've got companies like DGA, who Katrina Allen has signed an extension with. So she'll be going into her second year with DGA.
Yeah, that was last season was a huge shock to a lot of people that she was going to DGA.
It was her and Marweed that were kind of like the big signings for DGA last season.
But getting a multiple time world champ like Katrina Allen on your team, that's a huge get. And to see that she did succeed, did play well. I know won several tournaments, won Throw Pink. She had a fantastic year, and it's exciting to see her succeed with a company that was lesser known. It just shows her talent that she can win with any company.
Definitely. So along the same lines, we've got Evelina Salonen staying with Innova. Not necessarily a surprise. I think she seems very, very in tune with that brand. So yeah. I think she sticks very well. We've got Joel Freeman staying with Innova, which, Trey, I think you were definitely shocked by this one. There are a lot of people that play for Innova. And I think that was your biggest qualm with, it did make sense maybe why Joel Freeman wanted to stay.
So yeah, that was kind of a thought that I had. Not to say that Joel Freeman's not going to do well. I just feel like for a player of Joel Freeman's caliber, he is not, in my opinion, is not appreciated in the way that he could be. Like, I think he was one of these key guys that could have seen grass greener on the other side.
Yeah.
And run to it. But making a safe move, extending with Innova. Innova makes fantastic discs. He won a Silver Series last year and was incredibly consistent. Had one of the highest rated rounds of the entire year.
Which that one that ended up getting dropped back down. It was originally above 1100, and then the PDGA went back and re-rated it. So now it was like a 1070 instead of 1100 some odd.
Well, he also put in I think around a 1090 rated round this year too.
Something like that.
So he's had a fantastic season. He's on the cusp of being like he could win multiple pro tours this year. I would not be surprised if he won multiple events. He's great in the woods. He's got a ton of distance, throws all his discs forehand and backhand, which I think is pretty neat. But I just kind of expected there to be a move there potentially, because if you think about Innova, and I'm gonna leave it at MPO right now. their men's team. You've got obviously their top guys, Calvin Heimberg. He's their highest rated player. He's got his name on the Toro. They made the Toro for him. Then you've got the guys like who are content creators like James, not James, excuse me, like
You got the
Nate's.
Aldens, you've got the Simons.
Well,
I mean,
I'm talking about Innova here.
oh Lord. Sorry, I was finding the PDGA posted the top
Oh,
rated rounds of the
yeah.
year. They showed Simon Lizotte at a 1093 at Jonesboro round 2, Paul Macbeth at a 1092 at the Champions Cup round 4, Drew Gibson and Joel Freeman tied with a 1091. Drew's at the Las Vegas Challenge round 2 and Joel's at the USDGC round 3. I was almost positive I had seen that today, though I think it was posted a few days ago. So,
Got it.
Innova content creators.
Yeah, so Sexton and Big Jerem, of course.
Definitely.
Those guys get a little more because of their presence on Jomez and things like that. And I mean, Sexton Firebird, the Halo Star Boss, those discs fly off the shelf. And so he definitely gets overshadowed by guys like that. And then you even look at guys like that are fan favorites, if you will. So like the Greg Barsby, world champion. He is a fantastic golfer. I'm not going to discredit that. But at this point in his career, Joel Freeman is a better disc golfer than Greg Barsby.
Yeah, definitely.
And then another guy like Garrett Gurthey, again, can throw the disc further than anybody.
Yeah.
But
Joel Freeman definitely played a more consistent season than Garrett Gurthey last season.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Joel was top 10, right?
Yeah, Joel was top 10. Double G did pick up a silver series and was competitive with Simon.
Except for that very, very sad loss to Simon on hole 18.
Yeah, that was sad.
That was a tough one.
But I think that you can see like Joel Freeman kind of falls in this like 5 to 7 slot in the MPO lineup, just based on like disc sales and like popularity. And so I thought it would have been good for him to potentially see if the grass was greener elsewhere. Maybe he did and found that it wasn't. I wouldn't have been surprised if he went to an MVP or Dynamic Discs where he's probably the number 2 guy, right in there with Chris Clemens. I mean,
right.
Not going to supplant Ricky, but
no, not by any means. So lots of interesting things going on in the realms of extensions. Definitely surprising things. Let's take a brief break from before we go into unsigns. Let's take a look at the new PDGA discs because I think there's a lot to talk about on new signs, and so I definitely want to talk about new plastic, stuff that we may be throwing here in the near future.
Oh, sure, yeah, that'd be great. So, I've got 5 companies represented here. We'll talk briefly about some of these. Briefly, the Dynamic Discs, they released the Supreme Trespass, which is going to be. What they've done is it is a very similar mold to their original discs. So they've already done this with the Judge as well as the Escape. And so now they're doing it in the Trespass. It's going to be a very similar mold, but just with this new plastic. So I think they just have a new mold that they're using that is almost identical to the old mold.
And it looks like Legacy has a new disc.
Yeah, I haven't heard from Legacy in a long time. They've been around since I started playing. Like I remember I was throwing the Legacy Cannon around when I first started playing in 2013. Like someone just handed me one and I was able to throw it forehand pretty far, like the disc. But they're coming out with the Legacy Rebel. I don't have a ton of information on this disc, but what I was excited about was seeing a company like Legacy who is putting out discs. I haven't seen them put out discs in a long time, but they make great discs. Their plastic again feels really good, and so I might have to check out the Rebel and see what it's about.
Definitely, and the nice thing about the new plastic is that we're looking at the PDGA new approval list, which is really a nice way to get a pulse check on how hard is a company pressing to get new discs out there. Not that quantity of new discs is necessarily the mark for a successful company, but it does show when a new company pops on, which the next thing we're going to talk about is Lone Star, who has 3 discs that that are on that approval list, which it has been week after week that Lone Star's putting new discs out there. It makes sense, they're a new company, but you get a pulse check on like how quickly are these newer companies making their way in and diversifying their portfolio of discs.
Yeah, I mean Yeah, so Lone Star came out with the Brazos, the Frio, and the Seguin. I'm probably saying that wrong. Seguin, Seguin.
Mm-hmm.
But don't have a ton of information on the disc itself. But what we're seeing here is we're looking at trends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Lone Star is committed to making discs. I
Yeah.
looked on their website and looked on the PDGA, and they've got over 20 molds already.
Yeah.
It's like that's unreal to me. Like they've been producing discs since I think like 2019, and they have over 20 molds. That is commitment to the brand. Like they're going all in. They're signing players. They are they're signing players, they're making discs. They're all in. And so it's exciting to see. I'm excited to see how some of these Lone Star guys do.
I agree completely. I mean, there have been a bunch of, and we'll talk here in a little bit about some signings recently. And Lone Star is just making a lot of pushes across the board. So I think you got one more, the Pro Discus.
Yeah, Pro Discus. They made a little bit of a name for themselves with Drew Gibson's jokery that he throws, but Pro Discus has come out with a new disc, which I think in a similar vein to Legacy, um, they came out with the Empire. Again, don't have a ton of information on these discs. Um, again, just gonna say this in the same way that I said about Legacy. I've heard Pro Discus has been around for a long time. I've heard about their discs. I mean, basically since I started playing in 13.
Oh yeah,
And so it's exciting to see. Um, by the way, just random thought. I just realized that I'm gonna be in my 10th year of playing disc golf this year.
hey, there you go. Very nice.
It's kind of cool.
That's nice.
But I'm excited to see what the Empire is and how it's going to fly. See if Drew Gibson jumps on that. Just because I know he
Yep,
loves the jokery. He
definitely.
talks about it. It's in the bag. And so we'll see on that one. But like you said, we think there are three big names that have not made a sponsor announcement, who have either left their companies or left their contracts early from other companies or have decided not to re-sign with their companies. And
Definitely.
they we'll just jump right into that. I know.
Yeah, I mean the one I've just been absolutely waiting to talk about is I know everybody wants to talk about Simon, and we'll get to
Yeah, we'll get
Simon,
there.
but Anthony Barella.
Dude.
I'm thrilled to see where AB goes. I mean, talk about a guy right out of college. I think we were talking in our first episode about just like the potential for the season, and I think AB has just a ton of opportunity to absolutely crush it this season. Talk about one of the furthest throwers
Oh yeah,
by far.
he's up there with Girthy.
Oh yeah, and there's just a lot going on, and a lot of speculation as to where he may be going. I think my thoughts are that Discraft is it. I think that has to be it. I could be wildly off, but I think Discraft is where he's going, though. And maybe we talked about this before, but you had a different thought based on maybe his relationship with Drew Gibson in the past, like maybe the Infinite route.
Well, that was actually your original take, was that he was going to go to
Yeah.
Infinite because he talked about not being able to throw Innova discs as a sponsored player.
Right.
But I'm actually leaning towards Discraft with you.
Yeah.
I think as the stars are aligning and the pieces are falling together, we're seeing that if you're looking at a guy like Anthony Barella, you're seeing okay, so Andrew Presnell and Ben Calloway were demoted
Hmm.
from the elite team to the tour team.
Yeah.
They're obviously making room for players, right?
Right.
And so I think one of those spots will be taken by Corey Ellis
Yeah.
because he was not on the elite team last year, and I think he should be this year
Right.
based on his season. But I think Anthony Barella just falls right in that spot.
Yeah, and one interesting thing, and this is going on today. Not that this is necessarily, you don't have to look into everything, but Ledgestone made a post
Yeah.
where they mention, or it was just generally talking about early registration for Ledgestone Open, and how to get in or how to become a whole sponsor, and they used AB in a shot that he was making at the previous year's Ledgestone Open, and the photo that they used to taking out the Innova logo on his hat and on his polo that he was wearing, and then briefly, and maybe it's that Ledgestone, like you said, might have removed the comment or maybe this person removed it themselves, but Double G Craft Jerky, their page, posted and said, "Oh, it's kind of odd that you removed the logos right there." And it's odd that Ledgestone would use AB as the poster child for early registration,
Right.
because Ledgestone and Discraft obviously go hand in hand.
Exactly. So if you kind of go look at Ledgestone's posts and the things that they're showing, you'll see most of the guys are, it's like, again, I mentioned Ben Callaway again. Ben Callaway's on there. Alexis Mondahano is featured on there. It seems like it's typically Discraft sponsored athletes. And then we're coming in here and there's just this picture of AB with his sponsors covered. It almost feels like to me, and maybe this is speculation, it definitely is, but it seems like to me, after seeing there's like no comments on the post.
Oh yeah, they completely removed all of them, and after it, I guess these comments came through. Ledgestone posted, "We pull images from our event photo catalog of players from any and every team to promote the event. This pic of AB just happened to work great for this ad."
I don't.
We'll see.
I
We'll
don't
see.
buy it.
If he signs with Innova, I'm going right back to that one, and I'm gonna definitely pull that in.
I think you mean Discraft.
Oh dang it! Yes,
Man,
Discraft.
he can't keep his company straight. Gosh.
I mean, it's just he's been with Innova for so long, since he was like 2
13.
years old.
Yeah,
He's been there forever.
13, same difference.
Yeah, so lots going on in that realm, lots of speculation over the board. You've got some thoughts on Val Mandujano. I mean, I think your thoughts are warranted in that area.
Yeah, so I think Valerie Mandujano announced with Mason Ford that they were both leaving Dynamic Discs, a move that was kind of surprising given the season that she had.
Yeah.
In the midst of the Konopana signing, Val came off. It kind of came off that she was supposed to be, the number 2 on
Right.
Dynamic's team, and she wasn't. She was the top player,
Right.
top FPO player, and I mean, it performed as maybe the top player on Dynamic. I mean, right up there with Ricky. Won several events and did really well, and so it's kind of surprising to me to see her leave. And then it was even more surprising to me that she didn't sign with Mason at Mint Discs.
Yeah.
Like, I think Valerie Mandujano is going to succeed wherever she goes. She's a fantastic athlete, great disc golfer, and was very consistent this last season. But it's really interesting. I mean, I don't really have a pulse on where she might land. I think there's rumors about Discraft. Maybe Mint is just waiting, and I mean, in reality, Valerie is a top 6, top 5 FPO player. Mason's a top 20 MPO player. And so you might even see something where Valerie gets a bigger to do with Mint than Mason did, which I mean would make total sense.
Yeah.
But I've heard rumblings about Discraft realigning with Alexis.
Yeah.
Being able to be on the same team with her sister, which would be, that's pretty cool. And Discraft, I think, may have a little bit more funds to be able to support a player like her.
Yeah, which just in that realm in general, it's time to lead into the Simon stuff. We talk about Discraft, and we talk about maybe Val goes to Discraft, maybe AB goes to Discraft, and I think the rumor mill is definitely far away from Discraft for Simon. But do we think there's any opportunity for that if AB and Val go to Discraft? Is there any money left in the pot for Simon?
So here's the thing. Simon is going to garner a deal very, if not the same, comparable to Paul McBeth's deal.
Right.
It's gonna
definitely,
for him to leave Discmania. I mean, I think it's got to be a 7-figure deal.
Has to
be,
no doubt.
And I just don't see like we're saying, if Discraft is a front runner for both Anthony Barella and Valerie Mandujano, I just don't think that it makes sense for Simon to land at Discraft. We've all heard the rumors. We've all heard what is kind of transpired. And at the beginning of this is that he was leaving Discmania to go to MVP.
Right.
Now, there was a little bit of controversy today. A little bit of action, if you will.
Definitely.
So Simon posted on YouTube his last round throwing Discmania discs, and it was a great round.
Oh yeah,
Casey White got an ace.
definitely.
I
Simon almost aced with the tilt upside down, which would have been nuts.
mean, it would have been classic Simon, the way to end it, but he finishes with a birdie, and then he kind of sits there, doesn't really say much, and then it cuts to him going to his car. And when he opens his trunk, you see a disc that looks like a dartboard. And the most significant thing about it is it definitely has a black outer rim.
Hmm. And the big piece here, and this isn't, we'll go ahead and shout out our friend Matt for sending this our way. The rumor mill definitely lands in the disc golf family around us, and he sent us the Etsy link that had been stirring around that had an Axiom disc with the exact same stamp on it. That had been sold by somebody that does custom dies all the time, and so it was like huge. Like, this is definitely, an Axiom disc. This is pure evidence that Simon is going to MVP.
So we thought, and then Simon saw this and responded with a picture of the disc, which you could very clearly see there was a white Discmania stamp on it, and he wrote metal flake MD3
Or
or
FD3.
FD3. Yes.
Right. So just immediately shut it down, but just for just a moment, we had a little bit extra, and I would have.
Yeah.
It'd have been fun if that was like an accidental leak of Simon potentially going to MVP, and maybe this is him saying that he's not going to MVP. Who knows?
Who knows? I think the fact that the rumor was true that he was leaving at all
Hmm.
leads me to believe that he's going to land at MVP. I don't really see I don't. There's not really a spot for him really in any other company, and nor does any other company, I think, have the resources that MVP would to be able to sign him to a deal like that.
Yeah, that's a tough one though. We had a local in the Knoxville group that mentioned that he didn't think that MVP had the funds to do that. It's the Todd Reagan who's sponsored there. He just posted in the Knoxville page publicly saying, that he thinks that Simon was going to Discraft and didn't think that. I think he's sponsored by MVP if I'm not mistaken, but mentioned that he didn't think MVP had the funds. Though I mean, obviously they're a large company.
Yeah, and they've done extremely well. James Conrad has done extremely well. They've sold a lot of discs. Their mystery boxes fly off the shelf.
Oh yeah,
And so,
I almost picked one up at Pluto Sports. They had some Gyropalooza boxes sitting there for $140, which I mean just pretty much covers shipping,
yeah,
on that. And so I was like, oh, I shouldn't.
yeah. Shout out again to Matt. He hooked me up with one of those for Christmas this year.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Matt, what a good guy.
What a guy! Love
But
that guy.
um,
So who knows? Who knows where he's going to go? I mean, I think that the highest percentage chance MVP, second highest chance Discraft, and then you can sprinkle in some others just for the fun of thinking maybe Simon's signing with Innova. Maybe it's gonna be Simon throwing a destroyer. To be fair, most of his career he was throwing like Innova, like injected plastic.
exactly. So he's like got a bunch of Innova plastic. Um, and did throw, some Innova molds at times, but I think the fun company to speculate here is Lone Star.
Oh yeah, they've signed good old Emerson Emmer Daddy Keith, which we noted that, and I think I told Trey, they call him Emmer Daddy because he's a dad now, and his name is Emmer's son, and now he's an Emmer Dad, so he's Emmer Daddy. That would just make sense.
I love it. I think that's
I'm
great.
here for it.
But then, they signed Robert Burridge. They signed Nico. They
Mhm.
re-signed Chandler Kramer.
Yep.
They signed Lisa Fakis. They signed both Deanne and AJ Carey.
Yeah.
I mean, why not get Simon?
It could literally be Simon going in and just trying to take this company to the next level. Like they come in and their first real year pushing on the tour, like boom, Simon Lizotte is the cherry on top of a long signing season.
Now, I don't really think that's. I'm pretty much convinced that he's going to MVP, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We were hopeful that we would have it, either the AB or the Simon sign by the time that we're recording this, but it's just not necessarily going on. So,
well, hopefully next time we'll be able to get those to you. I will say I kind of heard about the rumblings of Simon leaving before it kind of went mainstream.
Oh yeah, your wife got you the most wonderful Christmas present that a man could ask for.
At least a disc golfer could ask for.
Exactly.
I For Christmas, I got to do a 2 hour training session,
Practice round.
form check practice round with Chris Dickerson,
You
which,
got to go over to Wing Deer Park, the local home course to my wife's mom.
hey, there you go.
I go play there frequently when I go in to see her family up
Yeah,
in Johnson City.
yeah, it was a cool course. It's wooded, a lot of tight shots. It's more technical.
Yeah, it's got a few long shots, nothing crazy, but
Yeah, but Chris was awesome to like get to play with. He like really helped me work on my backhand, which I mean, if you've ever played around with me, you know that's something that's not ever been my strong suit.
right.
And so I have already seen some results there, which is exciting. We were walking, I think it was just like between hole 1 and 2, and he was like, so I've heard this rumor that a big name player is leaving their company, and they're and the rumor is that they're going to MVP. And I was like, immediately my brain went to Anthony Barella
Right.
because he had already announced that he was leaving. But then Chris was like, "No, I don't think it's someone that has not announced that they're leaving yet."
Yeah.
And so, um, this is just another funny story. I was at another round disc golf in Charlotte, and I was looking through discs, and I grabbed some of their misprint stuff and was just looking through it. And I like a lot of MVP.
Right.
And I love the hex. And I was scrolling through and I found a hex, and I flip it over, and it's got Big Germ's stamp on it.
Oh yeah.
You've seen it.
I've seen this one.
Yeah. And so at that point, I'm like, is Big Germ leaving Innova? And
Right.
I'm like, and I don't think that's definitely not happening.
No, and it's probably just a Jomez related.
Well, it's another round.
Oh, okay. I forget that
Yeah,
because he's from that area.
he's from the area. He's got a good connection with another round.
Right, and then
But
now we've seen that Jeremy's gone and re-signed or extended with Innova.
yeah, and so I was like, and that was my next one because I couldn't even fathom the idea of Simon leaving.
Right, it's
me.
definitely not the expected thing. He's so loyal to the company, and he's almost the exact face of the brand. I mean, Eagle is huge, and Eagle will be the face of the brand as Simon exits.
And so to now know that Simon is in fact leaving Discmania.
Yeah, which is an odd spot because Simon is pushing the FD3 for the time being. The FD3 was planned to release probably a little bit later than it actually has. So he's ended his most recent YouTube video with the, maybe like an hour before the launch for the FD3. And so that is out and for sale, probably out of stock at this point.
It is already out of stock.
So that we'll see the Doombird 4 getting sold around on sites for lots and lots of money.
The other thing that was pretty cool is I got to see Chris Dickerson showed me a disc that was unreleased. And so I was gonna mention this earlier, but I wanted to wait actually because I think Discraft just came out with the retooled Venom was their most recent approved disc.
Yeah.
And the Venom's numbers are very similar to the Force, maybe a hair more stable actually.
Yeah.
And the disc that Chris showed me was definitely similar to a Force, and he was saying that it was a little more stable. He didn't even know what the name was at the time.
Right.
And so this is not Chris telling me that that disc that I got to see was the new Venom.
Right.
But kind of me doing deduction, I think that might be what I got to see, which is pretty dang cool.
Heck yeah.
And so didn't let me throw it. Well, I didn't ask.
No.
I mean,
How would you?
I wanted to though. I wanted to throw it. It was like really cool disc that it was blend. He said it was a blend between ESP and Z.
Okay, that's interesting.
And so it's not something they run normally.
Yeah.
But,
that makes sense. I mean, the pros get anything they want anyway, especially
Exactly.
when you're somebody like Chris Dickerson.
Yeah, he was telling me. I got to carry the scorecard at USDGC for his card in the round 3. Me and my buddy Jackson got to do that. Shout out to Jackson. But I heard him talking with now I'm gonna blank on a name. The CEO of Discraft was walking around with Chris that round and I heard him talking about the Big Z Onyx and how he loves that disc. And so I asked him about it because I've got one in my bag.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to be like, because it sounded like it may have been a limited run or something like that. And so I was actually going to offer it to him.
Yeah.
And I soon found out that like later on he called Discraft and was like, hey, are there, do you have any more of these, or is this a limited run? And he, long story short, he wound up with 25 of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna hold on to mine. You don't need my disc. You've got plenty. Definitely. You give me one.
Yeah. So lots of cool things going on overall. So I think more than likely we'll know some of this next week. We're very hopeful that next week we'll have at least one of these 2 people announcing where they're going. So
one of these 3. Don't forget Val.
It's just Simon is so big, and I just think Val is more than likely going to go to Discraft. We'll see.
There's a
lot going on. So we appreciate you for listening. We're excited for next week, and we should be consistent uploading on hopefully Mondays moving forward. We'll lock down a time, make it happen moving forward. So we appreciate y'all for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching or listening, and we are glad you are listening to us.
Definitely. See you guys.